Here's something no civilian would ever notice. Walk into a highway restroom at 2 a.m. and count how many drivers walked in alone. At a good stop, that number is a crowd. At the stops on the bad list, the answer is close to zero, because those 30 seconds between your cab and the building are the most exposed moment of the night. And no regulation ever taught you that. You learned it, or someone before you learned it and paid for it, at a bad stop. Like soldiers going to the bathroom in pairs, truckers pair up now too. It's not a rule. It's a reflex. Tonight we're ranking the 10 riskiest corridors in America, from bad to the absolute worst. It gets sketchy after dark, is the easy version. You already know that. We went a step further. We found the exact exits, name by name, that drivers actually detour around. And behind every single one of them is something concrete. An official police bulletin, a state forced into hiring armed guards, a murder file with a date and a name attached. And at the very top of the list is a road so notorious that the FBI built a dedicated unit just to track the bodies found along it. Most of you have probably already guessed which road it is. Let's get into it. 10 Interstate 5, Washington State. Now we get to the places where the state itself waved the white flag. Along northern I-5, Washington's DOT flat-out closed a cluster of rest areas: Smoky Point between Marysville and Arlington, Silver Lake in South Everett, Custa near Bellingham, citing trash, vandalism, and threats against employees that had become unmanageable. Read that again. Not inconvenience, threats against workers. WSDOT's own staff now say maintenance crews go out in pairs for safety. The agency runs 47 rest areas, serving 24 million people a year, and a growing number have turned into encampments the state says it can't clear, because a court ruling treats a lived-in vehicle as a hard-to-tow residence. The stops fill up with abandoned cars and garbage, and at the worst locations, the state's answer was to lock the gate. When the agency that owns and runs a rest area decides it's too dangerous to keep open, that's not a rumor floating around on Channel 19. That's an official admission. The price here is that your safe, tax-funded legal place to sleep simply isn't there anymore. 9. La Bajada, Interstate 25, New Mexico. New Mexico earns its own spot with a detail that's hard to top. Vandalism and theft at the state's rest areas, including La Bajada near Santa Fe and the stop at the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge in Taos, got so out of hand that NMDOT put full-time armed guards on site. Not a camera, not a sign. Armed personnel, purely to keep the facilities open for the truckers who genuinely need somewhere to rest. Meanwhile, the state is bleeding money-chasing graffiti and destruction it openly admits it can't keep up with, while pouring tens of millions into rebuilds like the Rattlesnake rest areas on I-40, which sat closed for the better part of a year. Here's the tell for a driver. When a state has to hire armed men to protect a bathroom, that tells you in the clearest possible language what's been happening there after dark. La Bajada's price is exactly what those guards are standing in front of. 8. Interstate 5, Stockton, California. In California's Central Valley, the I-5 rest areas around Stockton and the broader San Joaquin corridor carry a steady stream of complaints. Theft, vandalism, encampment spillover, and drivers feeling exposed during off-peak hours. This is also farm and freight country, which adds a second layer. Prime cargo theft territory, worked for years by crews fanning out from Los Angeles into the valley. California keeps closing and reopening valley rest areas for repairs and water issues, which pushes traffic into fewer open stops and forces you to choose between a crowded public lot and an unfamiliar private one. San Joaquin County's broader crime and homelessness pressures spill straight onto highway infrastructure because a rest area offers bathrooms, shelter, and easy access. Everything it was never built to handle all at once. The price near Stockton is the ugly combination. A stop you might genuinely need but feel too unstable to trust with a loaded trailer sitting behind you.
7. Interstate 80, Vallejo, California. Just outside the Bay Area on I-80, there's a rest area drivers have quietly warned each other about for years. The kind of place veterans say they'd never send a passenger car or a solo traveler, only a trucker who's genuinely run out of hours. It's close enough to the metro to catch all its overflow and none of its patrol, and it draws exactly the crowd you don't want knocking on your door at 3 a.m. This one runs more on reputation than any single statistic, and that's the point. A place like this fills or empties itself. Newer drivers read the warnings, do the math, and shut down before or after it. The price near Vallejo was never really about equipment, it's sleep. You don't rest in a lot where part of your brain stays awake tracking footsteps, and a driver who didn't sleep is a bigger hazard at 70 miles per hour than any lot lizard ever was. 6. Interstate 40, West Memphis, Arkansas. Say West Memphis to any driver with a few years on the road and watch the reaction. This is the truck stop and rest area cluster where I-40 and I-55 meet across the river from Memphis. A sea of fuel and parking that on paper should be a driver's best friend, and for 50 years has been the opposite. This one runs on 5 decades of the exact same shared story. Knocking on doors all night, people working the lots after dark, a spot that's been on personal never stop here lists since the 1970s. It's not just folklore either. Security councils that track cargo theft have flagged high-risk stops in this corridor, the ones piling up multiple thefts in a single year, and told drivers plainly to route around them. Some say it's calmer than it used to be, and maybe they're right. Doesn't matter much, because the price here is still the same. The sleep you won't get. And hold on to West Memphis, because the river it sits on is about to matter a lot more before this list is done.
5. Interstate 15, Bonneville County, Idaho. Now the tone shifts, and it doesn't shift back. In May 2022, a man was shot and killed at a rest stop in Bonneville County, Idaho, out in the wide-open Mountain West country. What the lonely stops earlier on this list only hinted at became real here. Here's the thing about an isolated rest area when it goes wrong. Everything that makes it peaceful, the isolation, the quiet, the distance from town, flips into a liability the instant a threat shows up. There's no crowd to disappear into, no clerk behind glass, no second exit. Out here, you can't outrun a bad situation the way you might in a busy lot, because there's nothing and no one around to run to. The price in a place like Bonneville County is the highest one there is, and it landed at a spot most drivers would have called safe, precisely because it was so quiet. 4. Interstate 80, Victor, Iowa. At the westbound I-80 rest area about 40 miles west of Iowa City, 60-year-old trucker Ernest Kummer was shot 4 times in the head inside his own cab in September 2017. The woman convicted of killing him received a mandatory life sentence with no parole. He was a company driver who'd been with the same outfit since 2010. He was off the clock, doing the most ordinary thing a driver does, sleeping where he was supposed to. That's what makes this one stick with you. Kummer did nothing wrong. He wasn't hauling anything special, wasn't parked in some notorious lot, wasn't taking a risk any of us wouldn't take on an average Tuesday. He was killed in the one place the whole system tells you is safe. The official stop, the sanctioned spot, the responsible choice. Victor's price is the illusion itself, the idea that the official lot is automatically the safe lot. Sometimes a sign that says rest area is just a sign.
3. Interstate 80, Grand Island, Nebraska. Keep rolling west on the same highway to a rest area just outside Grand Island, Nebraska, and it gets worse, because this one was caught on camera. In June 2024, around 7 a.m. in broad daylight, a man attacked a Missouri couple traveling in their RV. Witnesses said he was demanding the keys to the Jeep they were towing. He stabbed both of them. Gary Weaver, 72, died. His wife, Mary, 71, was gravely wounded. Part of it was captured on a nearby trucker's dash cam. The attacker fled the rest area and led troopers on a 120-mile-per-hour chase before crashing. Sit with the details. 7 a.m., broad daylight, a retired couple on a road trip stopped exactly the way they were supposed to, and a trucker close enough to film it through his own windshield because it all happened that fast and that publicly. Grand Island's price is the death of the last excuse. Not late at night, not a dark corner, not a bad neighborhood, just a normal morning at a normal stop on America's busiest freight artery. The two worst incidents on this entire list both happened at I-80 rest areas, and that's not a coincidence. That's the price of the corridor. 2. Interstate 24 truck stop, North Nashville, Tennessee. The runner-up belongs to a specific address and a specific ghost. In 2007, at a truck stop on I-24 in North Nashville, a woman named Sarah Halbert was found shot to death. A detective went back to that same truck stop to follow up, spotted a rig matching a description, and struck up a conversation with the driver, a long-haul trucker from Illinois named Bruce Mendenhall. There was blood in the cab. Before it was over, Mendenhall had implicated himself in Halbert's death and was tied to a string of killings of women across Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Indiana. The press called him the truck stop killer, and he wasn't the only one. The reason this spot represents so much more than one crime is that it's a doorway into a pattern investigators have documented for decades. Predators who use the trucking life as cover, pick a victim up at one stop, harm them somewhere down the road, and are 3 states away before anyone notices. Mendenhall wasn't a fluke, he was a type. The price this truck stop represents is the realization that at certain stops, the danger isn't circling your trailer. It's parked in the next row, idling, watching the lot, and it doesn't want your cargo at all. 1. Interstate 40, Wilmington to Barstow. The worst isn't a single lot. It's the road that connects them, and it earned the top spot the hard way. I-40 runs from Wilmington, North Carolina, all the way to Barstow, California, through Raleigh, Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Albuquerque, and Flagstaff. It's the backbone of American freight. It's also the most notorious corridor in the FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative. Here's how that unit came to exist. In the early 2000s, a crime analyst in Oklahoma noticed a pattern: the bodies of murdered women turning up along highways dumped after being picked up somewhere else. She pushed it up the chain, and by 2009, the FBI had launched a dedicated initiative that started with clusters of victims found along the I-40 corridor across Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi. The database that grew out of it now holds more than 500 victims, most killed and discarded near truck stops, motels, and highway pull-offs. A former FBI assistant director who spent years working these cases ties at least 850 homicides to this type of predator, and agents in the field say even that number is likely undercounted. The suspects are overwhelmingly long-haul truckers. As one investigator put it, an 18-wheeler is a mobile crime scene. Pick up in one jurisdiction, kill in a second, dump in a third. And I-40 is the red dot at the center of the map. This is the road Robert Ben Rhodes worked, the original truck stop killer who built a torture chamber into the back of his trailer. It's the corridor of the Interstate Strangler, tied to dozens of victims. It runs directly through Memphis and West Memphis, the 2 banks you met earlier at number 6. And now you understand why both made this list. For 50 years, drivers crossing that river thought they'd left the problem behind them. The truth is, the river was never the boundary. The road was the danger the whole time, and it runs coast to coast. So what does I-40 actually cost? Everything this countdown built toward concentrated onto a single line on the map. The isolation of the western stops, the theft of the valley lots, the trafficking on I-35, the murders on I-80. All of it feeding into one corridor with a federal task force assigned to the bodies it produces. If your route runs the 40 and you're pulling into a quiet stop after dark, keep your doors locked, read the lot carefully, and remember, the most dangerous thing at a rest area was never the parking. It was the person who picked that exit for the same reason you did. That's the 20. From an empty pull-off in the Black Hills to the road the FBI built a task force around. Notice the pattern whispering through the whole list. The danger climbs in the same order every time. First, it's your cargo. Then it's your window, then it's your sleep, and at the very top, it's you. The drivers who stay safe out here aren't lucky. They're the ones who read the lot before they read their phone, who pair up for the walk, who trust the gut feeling that says, go another 20 miles. Now it's your turn. Drop your own never stop here exit in the comments, the stop you'd warn a rookie about, because someone running behind you tonight hasn't learned it yet and doesn't have 50 years of Channel 19 to teach him. And if this list earned a spot in the map you carry in your head, subscribe. It's still the one free thing left in trucking. Until next time, keep the rubber side down, the shiny side up, and never take that walk alone.